I'm Stephanie. Welcome to Fiction Files. This is the playlist where I talk about all things writing, and I wanted to continue doing some character studies, and so I'm revisiting shows that I grew up with in the 90s, and I'm doing another Charmed video. Now, I'm going to say this up front. I love Charmed. I watch it like 5 days a week when I'm on the treadmill. I love this show, and know every episode, at least seasons 1 through 5, like the back of my hand. But the show does have some flaws. And I'm not talking the cheesy special effects in season 1 or the plot holes. I'm talking about the character development. I've done videos on Cole, Phoebe, Piper, and Prue, and now we'll be focusing on the last to join the Charmed ones, Paige Matthews. As a teen, when I was watching Charmed as it aired, I remember not liking Paige, but that's because I was young and dumb and just didn't like her because she was trying to replace Prue. I now see that she was not a replacement for Prue. She was her own character, and she's actually a really good character. So let's talk about Paige and what we can learn from her as writers. Her arc. Paige was on the show longer than Prue, and for the most part, emulated Prue's arc. Had the show stopped with the season 7 finale. I don't think Paige became awful until season 8, which makes me wonder if it's both lazy writing and Rose McGowan just going through the motions to get her paycheck. Paige is not great in season 8. She's become kind of self-centered like Piper and Phoebe, and seems real annoyed whenever she has to be a witch or protect people. I'm going to focus this character study on the time she was a well-developed character, so not including season 8. That was a hot mess all around and should be forgotten. So, her arc. Paige is introduced in season 4 after Prue was killed by Shax. Fortunately, the showrunners had a canon-ready reason for Paige to exist. The Charmed One's mother, Patty, had had an affair with her whitelighter Sam. And now we know their union resulted in a daughter who can reconstitute the Charmed Ones. She's a sister witch through their mother, and has the power to move things with her mind. Though, quick aside, this never made sense to me. Are we saying Paige didn't have powers? We're shown she could always orb, as that's how she survived the car wreck that killed her parents. But she didn't have her witch powers until reunited with her sisters? And because it's Prue who died, Paige can move things with her mind? We've seen Patty get premonitions while she was pregnant with Phoebe. Piper could tap into Wyatt's powers while pregnant with him. It makes no sense that Paige didn't have her own witchy power until reunited with Piper and Phoebe. We're saying if Phoebe had died, Paige would have had premonitions? I just really wish they had given Paige her own witch power that she's always had. Moving on. Piper casts a spell to call for a lost witch, and Paige is magically summoned to Prue's funeral. Phoebe has a premonition of Shax killing Paige, and they plan to protect her. Cole goes underground and finds out that the source thinks that Paige is a Charmed One. The girls summon Ghost Grams and Mom and are told the truth. Paige is their sister. Paige's powers are unbound when she joins her sisters, and together they vanquish Shax. Of course, Paige is freaked out, but does come to accept her fate as part of the Charmed trio. She embraces her new role as sister and protector of the innocent. She was really an endearing character when she was first introduced. Rewatching the show, I like Paige and how she shakes up the dynamic and brings something fresh to the table. I do wish they could have stretched things out a bit and paced themselves more in season 4. We meet Paige right away, and like 2 episodes later, they're asking her to move in. I think we still could have been told about Paige's existence, but then watched as Piper and Phoebe had to find her. Maybe her powers were unbound back in season 1 when Phoebe originally read the spell, and she's been a witch for a while, and now needs to learn to become a sister. It would have felt like they could have mourned Prue a bit more properly, and it would have upped the stakes and add an element of danger, as Piper and Phoebe wouldn't be a match for the source anymore. Either way, I think Paige had a very compelling arc. She did struggle with balancing magic and her normal life, had career aspirations, and was generally a good person and a good witch. I think they fumbled the ball with having her leave social work. But as I've said in most of my Charm videos, they really fumbled the ball with all of their careers. so I'm kind of beating a dead horse here. Her arc was always about her protecting and guiding others. She did it before she knew she was a witch, and then in how she embraced her white lighter duties. Having grown up as an only child, she was used to doing things her way and alone, and through her arc, learns to work to be on a team and to be part of the power of three. She welcomes magic and her sisters and understands she serves a higher calling. She is a hero. She makes sacrifices. She fights the good fight, and she does what's right, even if it's hard. As writers, we typically want our characters to have a positive arc, and Paige and Prue are great examples of characters who are stronger and better at the end of their journey. Again, not counting season 8 for Paige. Her strengths and weaknesses. Another thing that makes Paige a great character is that she has actual flaws, and she has some great positive traits. She was funny, hopeful, honest, outspoken, quirky, understanding, and creative. She was the empathetic one, even if Phoebe technically had the empathy power. Paige could understand struggling with inner demons, and could show compassion to Cole and her boyfriend Richard, who was addicted to magic. She never shamed Richard for his addiction or told him he was doomed to be evil. She simply helped him. On the other hand, she was impatient, and often thought that magic allowed her to bypass the boring steps or the actual learning. She's stubborn, and like Prue, she was a bit fearless and reckless, and will put herself in harm's way to protect others. These flaws hindered her character and caused conflict, and were things that were a part of her character. Not just one-off so-called flaws that are resolved by the end of the episode, or played off as a joke like Phoebe and Piper's flaws. Her positive traits also made her likable and relatable, and could also cause conflict. She was a well-rounded character, and her strengths and weaknesses helped her grow and evolved. I also love that Paige didn't really complain about wanting a normal life. She felt being a witch was normal. Magic was just a part of her. She rarely blamed it for being a problem in her life. The only times it really came up was when she was deciding if she could trust her boyfriends with the secret. For the most part, her flaws and strengths were consistent. For the most part. I'm not forgetting her weird switcheroo with believing in fairy tales and then finding them stupid, but they were a part of her. They weren't just there for an episode or to force a plot point to happen. After reconstituting the Charmed Ones, she had to learn to be a part of a team, she had to control her impulsivity, and she had to learn how to balance her magical and non-magical sides of herself. It was a well-constructed arc. Her career. I already said I didn't like that she quit her job, but like I said in the other Hollowell sister videos, there was some good that came out of Paige's career and some missed opportunities. By having her dream of being a social worker and working her way up to that position, it showed she had ambition and drive and wanted to be a force for good before she knew she had magic on her side. Social work isn't easy work. It's demanding, draining, and requires a lot of strength. Her career choice brought some of her character traits to life without having to tell us that she's a good person. We can see that from her line of work. Like Prue working at Buckland's, there were some great opportunities to tie the magic plot into their working lives. Sure, Paige met the fire starter through work and was manipulated by the source to magically attack a man she thought was hurting his son. But I think Paige's job could have easily been used as a way to bring in the innocent of the week. But in the season 5 opener, she quits. Of course she does. And then she just kind of flounders for a bit, but of course can still afford Jimmy Choo's. Her whole arc was about guiding and saving people, and yet they took her out of a job that did just that. It made no sense. She was a social worker for a day, and it was her dream job. As writers, we can use a character's job to make them feel more real, convey certain traits and personality types, and have it play a role in the story in a natural way. Her relationships. First up, I have to talk about Paige's relationship with her sisters, Piper and Phoebe. But it's to talk about how awful Piper and Phoebe are to Paige. I understand they're grieving Prue. I understand they have a lot of emotions in dealing with the fact that they have a half-sister they didn't know about, and that they're still the charmed ones. But they always take their anger out on Paige when she is not responsible. I also think around this time, the writers started developing their amnesia and writing in a ton of continuity errors, as Phoebe tells Paige, "I struggled with being a witch in the beginning too." When? Phoebe was all gung-ho about magic and having powers and saving innocents. Traditionally, until about season 5, Phoebe was the one who refused to give up their powers. She will always want to be a witch. But then she's telling Paige she struggled, and that Paige will need to fight like hell to keep her life separate from magic? Writers, please know your characters. I also hated how they forced Paige to move in with them, just to constantly yell at her, destroy her stuff, or generally be annoyed by her very presence. You guys asked her to move in. I do think it gets better, especially between Piper and Paige. They do butt heads, and they both struggle to be the more in-charge sister, but they also have a deep bond that develops naturally. I loved when Piper gave Wyatt the middle name of Matthew in honor of Paige. I think Phoebe and Paige had a great relationship at the start, as Phoebe seemed to want to get to know Paige and support her. But then the whole Queen of the Underworld plot happened, and their relationship never really recovered in my eyes. Paige continued to be supportive of Phoebe, but Phoebe was constantly nagging Paige, blaming her for everything, and generally trying to ruin Paige's life by telling her they were going to give up their powers at the end of season 4, trying to control who Paige dated, and chiding her for personal gain issues when Phoebe was constantly using magic for personal gain. These things showed how strong of a character Paige is, that she continued to put up with this abuse from her sisters and do her best to be a great witch, and later, somewhat white lighter. I do also enjoy the episodes where we dive into Paige's heritage and family history. She obviously loves and grieves for her parents. She honors them by living a good life. And I liked her being able to confront Sam and then accept him into her life. Or at least what little we saw, and I'll take what I can get. I liked the episodes where she met her biological father, Sam, and knows she comes from him, but he's not her father. Her dad is the man who raised her, who loved her every day and only wanted her to be safe, loved, and happy. She has every right to not want anything to do with Sam, but does give him some of her heart. She wants to know him, and she wants him to know her. I really wish that they had explored her and Sam's relationship more. They brought him back for some other episodes, but never really knew what to do with their relationship. The next time we see Sam, Paige hates him, or I guess is at least ambivalent towards him. Why? What happened between these episodes? Explore it, please. I also would have loved an episode where Paige could spend a day with Patty, a la Piper's wedding day, where Patty was given a body. I know the 60s episode was supposed to be with Patty, but then write a different episode to get around scheduling conflicts. I also know why they couldn't do anything with Prue because of likeness rights, but I think they could have written some lines about Paige having met Prue off-screen, or something. All of this is to say that I liked that Paige was open to new relationships. It creates an opportunity for her to grow because of the people in her life, round out her character, and creates a source of potential conflict. Rewatching the show gives me an appreciation for Paige. She was unique. She was a good addition to the Charmed Ones. She wasn't Prue 2.0, and she didn't have to be. She was her own character and was well-rounded. She's never a Mary Sue, but she's also not a bumbling idiot. She grew and evolved, but never lost her desire to help people. She just now had magic on her side to achieve that goal. At her core, she was good and wanted to do the right thing. Like I said, she was a hero, which made her easy to root for. So, what else can we learn as writers from characters like Paige Matthews? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Fiction Files.